right, and welcome back to day number 22 or way number 22 that you can get started in real estate investing. I've already talked about a lot of different topics from fix and flipping to turnkey to rezoning, uh, splitting or subdividing various plots of land. So this is one area that's been getting a lot more traction in the last couple of years, particularly with the COVID pandemic. And we can come up with a couple of different terms for it, but we'll just say we're going to repurpose an existing piece of real estate. Now, what does repurpose mean? Now, if you remember back from about 2 years ago at the time of this recording, COVID-19 pandemic hit a lot of people extremely hard, especially those in the hospitality business. Travel was shut down. A lot of non-essential work was shut down, and people were told to stay home, don't go to work. Travel not advised. Vacations were canceled. Even business trips were canceled. Well, like I mentioned, the hospitality industry, especially for a lot of hotels, they were impacted very, very hard by this, because now instead of having all these rooms in a hotel that are being rented for whatever 150, 250 a night, whatever the case may be, they were basically told, hey, this is non-essential. And even if you were in various areas where there wasn't as severe of lockdowns as, say South Dakota versus New York, even here in Minnesota, we didn't have near the lockdowns as California and some other areas did. And, Florida and Texas were a little bit more open to business than others. But even if there wasn't a lot of restrictions or mandates put into place, a lot of hotels saw their revenue just completely plummet as reservations were canceled left and right. Even if there wasn't any mandates, a lot of people just were, scared or didn't want to travel, or, well, I was going to go to Miami, or I was going to go to Huntington Beach, or whatever the case may be, and now that's canceled. So, I'm just going to cancel my hotel stay. Well, as time went on, a lot of the big chains were able to make it, whereas the Hilton or Holiday Inns, had very deep pockets. Maybe they were publicly traded and could sell additional shares, stock shares of the company to get some additional revenue. But for a lot of smaller mom and pop shops, they really just weren't able to make it, even with the PPP loans and the other sources of assistance out there. So sometimes they would have just sold their property at a fire sale. Sometimes might have gone into foreclosure, and maybe someone else bought it. Now, what's been getting a little bit more traction is a lot of existing hotels, if they're in a prime location, maybe they're a beachfront or wherever the case may be, instead of a hotel, which may or may not be worth as much as a commercial play, having this repurposed to condos or an apartment building or whatever the case may be. This is basically taking the existing structure and then repurposing it for something else. Likewise, we've seen various areas with the Amazoning, so to speak, the retail industry. Shopko is a huge chain here in the Midwest that just went under. And, a lot of retail players aren't coming into the arena. It's pretty much dominated by the Walmarts and the Amazons, and a lot of people are ordering from home. Well, even if fewer people are going out to stores to actually physically pick something off the shelf and buy it, if you are buying something from Amazon, that still needs to be housed somewhere. So maybe there's some vacant retail buildings that are being repurposed to warehouse space, from a Amazon distribution center, Wayfair, or another entity that maybe this was a retail building once upon a time. A lot of potential. There isn't a lot of walls in it. It's just kind of a big open shell, and take out the shelving units, take out the checkouts, take out the, maybe the old floor and whatever the case may be. And you essentially have a very large empty box. And that can be repurposed into a warehouse, from a retail entity to a warehouse. Already we had talked about, some single family properties that were maybe put into place and maybe it has enough square feet that you can split it, add a second entry, maybe add a little kitchenette, up and down duplex, side by side duplex, and you're repurposing the existing structure that's in place, say from a single family home to a duplex or a multifamily unit. So this is just a couple of areas to look at. Maybe there's a potential for property out there that, maybe you've seen a vacant building, a vacant house for many years. Years ago here in town, we had the Marshall Hotel set vacant for years and years and years. That could have potentially been a great repurposing project to turn that into apartments or a condo. Unfortunately, in that instance, the owner really didn't have a desire to sell, and long story short, had some beef with the city and just kind of let the building deteriorate. And as of, I think it was last spring, that finally just got demolished and it's going to be turned into a green space. But just generally speaking, if there's any existing property out there, can you repurpose it? Is it an old hotel that could be repurposed to a condo, to an apartment complex? Is it a retail building, an old Shopko, an old Pomida, old retail venue, whatever the case may be? Can that be repurposed into a warehouse? Is it a single family home that could be repurposed into a duplex or a multifamily? So just think of repurpose, repurpose, repurpose. Is there a way to take the existing property that is already in place and convert that to another use versus what its initial use was? And it may not be as beneficial now. Like I said, there aren't a lot of up and coming retailers coming up that want to compete with the Amazons and the Walmarts, but they might need some warehouse space for online delivery or online shopping. Hotels I think were overbuilt for many years, and now some of them we've seen, if they're not too dilapidated that they have to be demolished, they can be repurposed into condos or apartment buildings. So again, just a few little nuggets out there of ways to get started in real estate investing. And again, this doesn't have to be all on you. I've seen many syndications and many REITs that are doing this. So, if you don't have the money or the knowledge or the expertise to do something on this big of a scale, look at some private and public REITs or some syndications or some funds, crowdfunding even, and say, well, hey, I don't have the wherewithal to buy an old dilapidated hotel and rezone it and repurpose it into a condo, but maybe I can buy into this REIT or this fund and put in, $100, $1,000, $10,000, whatever the case may be, and make a 12% preferred return while the syndicator does that project. So just another way out there to think of, how can I get started in real estate investing? How can I reap the benefits of real estate investing? So that concludes today's video on repurposing. Be sure to hit that subscribe button, and I'll be back to you tomorrow with another video. Take care.